So having that trickle down to the individual level is like a lateral move at best. But I understand that philosophy. I understand the individual philosophy of, I hate doing this, but I need to do it because I would prefer not to be homeless.
This goes out to the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Horrible content. This is the content that so many people are pledging for on Patreon on a regular basis, increasing their pledges even. In light of this sort of dialogue, Patrick, let's talk about the week in comic books. Can we do that for a moment?
Hey, you know what? Instead, let's talk about Patreon.
Okay, what's up?
So, as most patrons are aware, starting July 1st, there's tax added to patron pledges. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's
and
interesting.
It's a very difficult process because taxes are charged differently all across the world.
Which is generally why platforms don't want to deal with that.
Right.
Until they're legally obligated to do so.
What may be taxed somewhere may not be taxed elsewhere, or maybe taxed more.
Right.
So, Patron told us about it, like back in May, even earlier, and I ignored it. And I thought, well, we don't give any rewards, so we don't have to worry about that. It turns out we do.
Okay.
And Patron has been really good with keeping content creators like ourselves informed of how it's going to work. And what I did this week was go into, we only have 3 pledge levels.
Okay.
Was go into each pledge level and you analyze each individual offer in that pledge. Like for us, for the 25 cent per episode pledge, basically it's, hey, thank you, and you can ask a question. So there's 2 rewards in that. One is general support, which is non-taxed, and the other is fan interaction.
Okay.
Because they can ask a question.
General support would be considered the, like, I don't want anything, I just want you to keep making what you're making. Like a charitable contribution almost.
So what we as content creators need to do is weight the percentage of each of those offerings per pledge.
I see.
Now, everything has to add up to 100. How would you weight those 2 individual things? Like, do you think the people that are pledging $1 a month are doing it, A, solely for the ability to ask questions, or B, just to support us?
So when you're breaking it down into percentages, what can I give it any number between 1 and 100 for each level?
Yeah, just so long as they add up to 100.
Sure. I would say 95% general support, 5% fan interaction, based on the number of questions that I hear from you, from people who pledge to the Patreon.
Real good. I did 90-10.
Okay. I think 10 is maybe overstating it.
And then for each additional tier, you have to add those 2 in if you do the all other tiers.
Sure.
And Patron is really specific about how things go, because I had just had like bonus digital content for the episode. You get to hear the unedited episode. That's not entirely true. That's not what it is. What it is behind the scenes.
Okay.
Because they're getting a look at what parts of it before it airs. And then for basically for the other 2 levels, I kept general support at 50%.
Okay.
And then split everything else up.
Got it.
At a certain point. So I have no idea how much anybody's going to be taxed, but here's the thing, they don't either, because it's all geographical.
Yeah.
Also, it's raining pretty hard right now, so I hope that noise isn't coming through the microphone.
I don't know. I like it.
Well,
I think
sure,
it's fun to record during like a thunderstorm.
But all I can think about is all the boxes that are getting wet at the store.
Probably.
And all the moisture that's going to be in the door tomorrow.
Probably. It was so humid tonight walking home. Oh, man,
Yeah.
oh, man.
It's pretty humid when I was out today as well.
Despite how much it rained all day and how much it's raining right now, it was so humid.
Yeah,
this
it's
evening.
supposed to be less humid after it rains because the humidity is 100% when it's raining, so it should be less. But anyway, so this is the week that people started having to pay taxes, and I thought all along there was a way that we could absorb that. That we could just say, fine, if you pledge $5, we'll pay the taxes out of that. You can't, because there's no way to know what that is.
Correct. Because it's not just like the world decided this is how much it is.
Yeah.
Every territory, every nation, every state, every city decides what that is.
So, patrons, if you know, I don't know if they break it down or itemize it or tell you. We tried to make it as less taxed as possible while still playing within the rules set up. So let us know how much you're paying in taxes. We're very curious.
I wouldn't say I was very curious.
I'm extremely curious.
I am 10% curious to Patrick's 90% curious.
I feel like we're talking about something different here. Speaking of analyzing results, and this has nothing to do with comics really, I had seen, and then I borrowed and made it my own, how do you draw a star diagram on the internet.
Yeah.
When you put your pencil down and each point
in a
is
five-point
a
star.
number, how do you draw a star?
Yeah. What point do you start at, and then what's the
If-
what order do you do the points in?
If the top of the star is 1 and going clockwise, 2, 3, 4, then 5. I go 4, 1, 3, 5, 2, back to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I posted that, and I honestly didn't know what to expect. So many different answers, and so many people who are angry at people that don't do it their way.
Sure. This is how you get left-handers being sinister for centuries. People just, like, you don't do it the way I do it. Why are you broken? What is it within you that the devil has gotten into?
It's interesting you say that. Number one, the left-handed people don't necessarily follow a specific pattern, but there's one specific pattern that only left-handed people did.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately it comes down to, I think, how you were taught.
Maybe.
And I had an adamant person saying, like, no, you start up here because that's how you start writing letters. No, I start my letters at either the top left or the bottom, not in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like I draw a star like I'm writing a capital A.
Yeah.
It's basically a capital A, really. And, however, James Zark, storyboardist and professional illustrator from California, had the absolute best answer. Can you give me the numbers that he gave?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nope.
No, I have no idea.
666.
Okay.
And his star is upside down.
Okay.
He wins. James wins. I'm taking this time to write how to draw a star in my notes, because you didn't keep going.
What was I supposed
Well,
to
I
do?
just filled so I could write down, like I thought there'd be.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell the second half of the story.
What's the second half of the story?
That since I'm not on the internet, and you were getting a lot of angry interactions with people who thought you were doing it the wrong way, you asked me cold, hey, here's the screen, here's the number order that the star goes in, what is the order with which you draw a star? And having no idea of what you had said, no idea of what people were saying on the internet, I took a pen and I took a napkin and I drew a star real fast, and then I figured out, and I named the exact sequence that you drew yours in.
Except you numbered them all completely different.
I did, because
Your starting point was 1.
Uh-huh.
So you're like, yeah, I go 1, 1. I'm like, what? No, that's not what.
Yeah.
They have numbers on
Yeah.
them.
But the point was that independent of your answer, I had the exact same answer.
Yeah.
And that validated it, but
Yep.
also it said something very specific about challengers.
Well, it turns out my brother and sister,
Uh-huh.
who took it, I still have another sister who didn't, did it the exact same way we do, and my sister's left-handed.
Huh.
But George thinks that's because we were taught how to draw stars by the same people. I don't think that's true. I thought you probably taught how to draw a star in school.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was taught by different people than your family was taught
Yeah.
by, geographically and over time. I mean, it was not the same day in the same place.
And Alex Wald from First Comics
Mm-hmm.
had said it would be fun to put this into a graph or a chart. and it would be, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like someone else's problem.
But it was interesting how like that particular sequence that we both did has a lot of votes to it.
Sure, that's cool.
But no one way has no votes.
Okay. Everyone's got their own way of drawing a star.
I was making fun of Kent because he was the first person to start with a straight horizontal line.
Weird.
Yeah. So 5 to 2.
Yeah.
And I called him out on that, but since then there have been multiple people who'd start with a 5. But he explains that a horizontal line is the easiest way to do anything. And I said, that's weird coming from a guy who renders everything in 3D using no lines whatsoever.
Correct.
And he said, yeah, in 2D I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you and I think we do it like a capital A and then we add extra parts.
Yeah.
And he does like a 7 and then adds extra parts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think it's interesting to see like what is the 2 or 3 line version of your star before you do the final lines. And I think that's an interesting way of constructing it.
I'm sure it says something about people.
If you want it to, I'm sure people can analyze whatever they want into it. I don't really see that much beyond like the idiosyncrasy of it, you know?
Sure. And while this necessarily isn't comic related, it was with a lot of interaction with a lot of customers and comic fans.
Well, that's cool.
And it's still, I think, part of a creative process.
It's hard to get interactions with a lot of customers and comics fans these days. We had someone, a subscriber, email us, and they asked a variety of questions, and the fourth question was, when are you going to do Women's Comics Night again? And I basically said, not in 2020, probably.
Yeah. Well,
it's something we could revisit in 2021, but basically until there's a coronavirus vaccine, no. I do not plan on having like large gatherings in the store under any circumstance if we can avoid it.
Yeah, even the Green Eye, just up the block from us, the bar that opened up this week, thanks to the entering of Phase 4. They still have a maximum hangout time of 2 hours.
I went to McDonald's this morning because I had to go to the store a little early, and so I got breakfast on the way in. And this was the first day that McDonald's was open for dine-in customers.
Oh, had you still been going to the drive-thru?
No, I would go in, but they would have their whole dine-in area fenced off. They use this like orange plastic fencing to keep people from being able to go into that area, but that was all down. They had
not the corpse of Grimace.
They previously had a sign up on their fencing outside that said, take out customers only or something like that, and that was down. So I went in to get my breakfast to go. There were like 12 people inside there eating breakfast just at tables. Like, I thought there'd maybe be a slower ramp up of people going back into restaurants to eat there, but no, it was immediate.
Were they social distanced?
McDonald's did a thing that I think a lot of businesses have to do legally, where they placed certain markings on certain tables to denote them as not being where you can sit.
Okay.
So there were no 2 tables that were next to each other,
Gotcha.
so people couldn't. But it was still a matter of like, you're still in an enclosed space. They're still not that far apart necessarily. You're still counting on all of these surfaces being cleaned constantly and thoroughly, and it's just, I didn't feel super comfortable about trying something like that. Certainly not on day 1 of Phase 4.
My friend Sue in London had posted a picture of her holding up a wine glass out on like a deck, and there was in the background there was a table and chairs. But looking through the wine glass, it made it look like the table and chairs was enclosed in a plastic like sphere.
Sure.
And I thought, man, those Brits are taking that serious.
Sure.
Like you had to enter this little hermetically sealed room to have your dinner on a deck.
Sure.
But it was just it was framed so well in the outline of her glass.
Well, that's cool.
I think that Phase 4 is a little bit too quick.
Yeah, same here.
And if you follow the news, there are escalating numbers all over the country.
Yep.
Not necessarily in Illinois, but
Give it
escalating,
time.
just not rapidly escalating.
Give it time.
Yeah, we're not going down or anything.
Nope.
Actually, we're down 5% from I don't know, a week ago, whenever it was.
Well, that's good.
But it's still basically plus or minus.
Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone's going to be safe out there, but I would certainly caution people that just because you're allowed to do something by your municipality does not mean that you necessarily have to do that thing. You can opt not to do it.
Sometimes I'm grateful for I don't know if this is going to sound right, the open-mindedness of the city we live in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chicago is a very, very progressive city overall.
Yeah, okay.
Not, I mean, to the extent we want it to be at
Could
all.
always be better.
But there was a clip from a town hall meeting in Florida. And the number, it was literally out of Parks and Rec.
Uh-huh.
It was all these people screaming about masks.
Uh-huh.
And it was, it's going to sound fake. I posted it on Facebook, which is a thing I rarely do that kind of
I
stuff
spent some
for,
time
but-
growing up in Florida. I believe it's real.
Jesus birthed life into your body, and he breathed
I heard
his
this
breath,
one. Uh-huh.
and that created your soul. How dare you work against God's law?
Uh-huh.
You should all be put under citizen's arrest for violating our free will. I'm an American. My rights are given to me by Jesus.
Uh-huh.
You have no right to tell me not to wear a mask. I'll never wear a mask. You'd have to force me down and force it on my body, and I still won't wear it.
Wow.
You violated We the People. You didn't listen to We the People.
Uh-huh.
And, here's my favorite one.
Uh-huh.
Speech is not just sound, but it's inflection and the way you look at people when they're talking. If you cover someone's face, how are young children supposed to know who is a pedophile and who is part of a sex trafficking ring? They don't know they're in danger because they can't see someone's mouth when they talk.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah, I mean it was
Gonna
mostly
be a rough second half of 2020, I tell you.
it was mostly God related,
Yeah.
but I have a friend who lives in that area,
Uh-huh.
and she's mortified at
Sure.
that kind of behavior, and it's
I gotta be honest with you, kind of afraid for my mom. She lives in Florida. She
Yeah.
takes care of herself, and she definitely is a smart lady and knows kind of what to listen to in the news and in information. But I mean, she's living in a state where there are people who are actively working against the best ways to save lives, and that is terrifying to me. Not just that people are being like lazy or being inconsiderate, but they view it as their mission to be as unsafe as possible for reasons that are mystifying to me. But they're into it. They are very, very into the idea of being massively unsafe, and it's just like my mom lives there. Like, please don't do that.
yeah. I've heard that New York is going to be quarantining, not like legally, but
Uh-huh.
any flights that come from Texas or Florida
Sure.
into New York.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you have to.
Which I want to say, to make it more ridiculous in 2020, I think Texas specifically was trying to quarantine people who were coming from New York when New York was the big hotspot.
Okay.
And there was basically a lot of talk at that point of states trying to lock down visitors from other states, and people basically having to go like, we have a country, and the whole point of our country is that you can't really do that.
Yeah.
Like, people from like Iowa can't keep people from Idaho out. Like, we don't do that. We can't do that as a country. So
We're
yeah,
not saying you
it's
can't come
interesting.
in. We're saying you have to quarantine for 14 days.
Yeah, which, I mean, we're all finding out that we are, as a country, not really built to do pandemics. We don't really have a lot of the structures in place that would keep
It's
us all
weird.
alive.
We did like 3 years ago.
We did. We had ideas.
Huh.
And then, yeah, okay.
So I'm only in the store a few days a week.
I've noticed.
2 days, yeah, because it's much easier and quieter for you when I'm not there. You get to play your music all day long.
Yeah, but I don't really care about that.
Yeah. I'll be adding Fridays starting next week.
Thanks.
We'll see. I mean, you're welcome.
You could always subtract them later.
It's true. When we all have to close down again. So I'm not interacting with the general public as much as you are, but I had a mask encounter this week. It's not a bad one. It's just an older gentleman came in and he had his mask on, but it was from his chin up to like between his bottom and upper lip.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Excuse me, sir, can you please pull your mask up a little bit?" And he nods his head and he pulls it up over his top lid, but stops under his nose.
Uh-huh.
Like, little more? Sir, a little more? Sir, over your nose? Can you pull it over your nose? And I'm motioning. Looks at me, he goes, no, and just storms out.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, storming out is great because then I don't have to feel bad about throwing you out.
Yeah, boy, that works in our favor. Yeah, I've definitely had to tell a few people over the last few days to pull their mask up over their nose. Like the amount of people who are wearing it as an obligation, not as a safety measure. Like, it's the whole, like, I'm wearing it, like, but you're not wearing it right, so you might as well not be wearing it, which means, as far as I'm concerned, you're not wearing it. And our rule is that you have to wear it. This all looped around on you.
We had to stop a young kid who was in Wednesday who just ran in. I'm like, hey, that kid's not wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey, buddy, you got your mask? I forgot it. All right, you got to go get it.
Yep.
And he left.
Yeah, we're trying to be safe here. We're doing everything we can.
Is it worth putting up a banner in the front window with the rules like, hey, you have to wear a mask, social distancing, blah, blah, blah?
Because we have it on the open sign, and people do read that. And in general, like, almost every business that's doing that just has, at best, an 8.5 by 11 signpost that says you got to wear a mask. And look, past a certain point, it's like, have you been, like, asleep for the last 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Because this is all pretty well locked in by now.
I got to tell you, I'm a little disappointed that DC stole my idea. In their comic books, they have a double-page spread of Wonder Woman and Superman is in Wonder Woman's lasso, or holding it.
I think he's holding it.
And they're
on opposite ends of the pages.
And it says, keep, 6 feet apart. Mm-hmm. And that's a thing that I'd done well over a month ago using DC characters.
It's true.
Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
I, of course, used Jose Luis Garcia Lopez art.
As one does.
And they used Tony Daniel.
An original Tony Daniel illustration.
Yeah. So I guess you're welcome for the idea.
Yeah. Certainly, it's a good idea from you as opposed to DC's ideas, which are usually terrible, which is a nice segue into something that I found kind of typically infuriating from DC.
Okay.
They announced a new
initiative
variant scheme for Batman the Three Jokers. They're doing a series of like exclusive variants.
Shared exclusives.
Yeah, well, basically, you have to order a minimum of 50 copies of each cover. There are 3 covers per issue for all 3 issues of Batman the Three Jokers. So 9 variant covers that you need to order a minimum of 50 copies each on. If you do that, you then qualify to receive 1 copy of a variant cover it's basically all 9 covers put together onto 1 cover with like some bonus material or something in the back.
Yeah.
So basically, if you order these, you get for more or less a 1 in 450 variant.
Yep.
So the thing about this that kind of drove me crazy was that so you're getting an extra 150 copies of each issue of a book that's $7.
Yeah.
Like, the buy-in on this is insane. Like, you are talking about, over the span of the series, you're talking about almost like nearly 500 copies extra that you're getting across the run of Batman 3 Jokers, which is basically, it's like $1,500 kind of minimum, depending on your discount. Could be higher if your discount's not great. Could be closer to $2,000.
Well, as long as you sell that variant cover for $2,000, you're in.
And maybe some store will, but it's just like, DC was the company that I used to, and this is the thing that I have to keep doing, is kind of dividing a DC from like pre-2019 to a DC that's like post-2019.
I think if you want to explain it, you can just say DC Comics versus DC Entertainment.
I guess, like, because they're...
I know that's not
I don't know if it's the AT&T thing
accurate.
or what. But anyway, like, the stuff that they're doing now, the variant cover stuff they're doing now, it is all of the stuff that they used to not do, because I think there was some awareness on an institutional level that the incentive variants that the making stores over-order to hit some bizarre level to be able to get some extra rare thing that they can flip, that pushing that many extra copies into a market that cannot use them is the most detrimental short-term thinking you can have as a company. And now that's their playbook. That's it. Like, they're doing 1 in 25 variants for so many more titles now. They used to not do those like at all, really. Now you've got 1 in 25s and 1 in 100s and the essentially the 1 in 450s like they're doing for Three Jokers.
Yeah.
And that's on top of every month there's another $10 80th anniversary book that has 11 covers. Stuff like Death Metal that has multiple covers per issue. Batman 3 Jokers, which already had multiple covers before they even did this scheme. And then introducing 3 new covers to each issue that you have to order a minimum of 50. It's like, who is this for? Like, what store can suddenly be like, well, I had a number in mind, but I guess I can do 150 copies more than that.
See, right there, you're saying more. What about in place of?
I mean, I guess, but even that just feels like, were you already ordering 150 copies, and then you're like, I guess I'm just going to do these 3 instead?
No, but do you think people will just buy one of the 3 knowing it's a series?
I don't understand it, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know if it's... There's
Now,
been times...
now, I want to point out to the listener that you and I have not talked about this at all. This is the first time we're
I think it got announced
mentioning it.
today or yesterday.
It was yesterday.
I never know what's the sort of thing that people are going to want as a series of covers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's been times that we're like, oh, everyone's going to want these Immortal variants at Marvel, and no one cared.
Yeah, that's true. To be more clear with these Joker covers, each one is a full face of a different iteration of the Joker.
Yeah, like a different era. Like, there's a Red Hood, there's
the Death in the Family with the top hat and monocle.
And they're all by Jason Fabok, who's doing the interior artwork.
The Killing Joke, the Hawaiian shirt with the camera.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, we found in general that, like, we got killed on the Detective 1000 variants. Because when Action 1000 came out, people were like, I want all of them. And the Detective 1000 came out, and people went, I'll take these 3, I guess. So we have literally a box of leftover $10 Batman comics featuring variant covers, Jim Steranko, that no one cared about.
Yeah.
Other ones would sell out. And it's the same thing with every other 80th anniversary thing they've done. I don't think we've had one of those yet that we've had a person say, I want every cover. The best you'll get is like maybe some subscriber who loves a specific character will say, I want these 2 or 3 covers. Or I'll try these 2 because they look cool, or they're 2 different eras of the character.
Yeah, but at the same time, when they announce those, they don't show the art.
No.
And B, it's just
Which
a random
makes it
assortment of artists.
Yeah, it makes it hard to get... Like, we had a list of all of the Action ones, so when we were doing an email to subscribers saying, hey, there's these, people could see all of them and go, oh, that looks good together, I want them all. This, yeah, I mean, you'll get like, here are the 10 people doing Catwoman. And it's like, okay, but I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what you're doing.
And even with these 9 Joker covers, they've only shown us 6.
Yeah.
So, here is why I'm almost thinking we should do it.
Uh-huh.
Because
I hate money, too. Yes, it's a good
because
idea.
we both think it's a bad idea.
Well,
and that's the stuff that usually we're wrong on.
Maybe, but I will match that with this. Anytime we've ever done something because we're like, well, I don't believe in this, but it's probably going to make us money, we always lose money on it. Always.
Yeah.
Every single time we're like, well, forget it. I don't care about my beliefs. I'm just going to try and make a buck. That's the time when no one cares. And so that's a double whammy of, I didn't believe in this and thought it was stupid, and I lost money doing it.
So I want to make it clear that the 150 copy buy-in is significantly more than we were going to get for 3 Jokers. When 3 Jokers was announced 2 years ago, we thought we'd be ordering way more than that.
Yeah.
But in this marketplace, we're not. No, and also, death metal, not selling.
Yeah, and additionally, I mean, that's the thing that makes the Joker thing feel even more insulting and egregious, is like, man, you're doing this now? Like, in the midst of a pandemic?
You just did his 80th anniversary $10 special. You're doing the Joker War right now.
It feels so crass and predatory. It feels like, you know, for any retailer out there who's thinking like, I wonder if DC's committed to the direct market. I see stuff like this and I think they are not. They could literally not care less as long as they get their money right now. And that's why it feels like they're doing this stuff, because it doesn't feel like they have, like, long-term health of the market. I feel like saying that in the DC offices right now would get you laughed out. Yeah. Like, none of this feels like, in any way, an awareness of a sustainable marketplace. So, yeah, the 3 Jokers thing is just like, it feels so selfish on DC's part. Like, I don't understand how you could try and do that in the marketplace right now. So
on the one hand, they're not making you buy all of the covers.
Not making you do anything.
They're not.
You can opt out. We're opting out.
You could do... I pause because I'm like, are we? I feel like we can still talk about this.
We can. I just, like, if your argument is because we think it's dumb, it's probably going to succeed, yeah, my counter argument would be, but when we've tried that, we still lose.
My argument
Like,
is also, I wonder how many of the stores around us are doing it.
well, and that's the thing. Like,
And that shouldn't be a factor for us.
Well, I was going to say, like, the complaint of this is horrible, and the rebuttal of, no one's forcing retailers to do this is, the way this gets announced is, it's kind of like the Here's Negan thing. Like, it gets announced to fans, so then stores have to find some way to service those fans. Like, you can say no. People can come to you and go, please order me these Joker covers. You can go, no, I don't believe in that. But then we're right back to where we were when we were talking about stores not carrying DC stuff because they didn't like DC's distribution model. How many customers who want to give you money do you want to say no to?
Yeah, at least it's different for this because it's like, look, you get the book. Here's the book.
Yeah.
Just a different cover.
I mean,
this is like, this week we got multiple requests for the Funko Free Comic Book Day blind box set. Once it was announced what it was, so it wouldn't be blind box anymore.
Yeah.
And that they announced it after orders closed.
Yeah, which they were always going to.
Right.
It was a box. It's a mystery box. You lock in your orders, and then they tell you what you're going to get. Which is why we didn't do it, because we're like, well, what if it's terrible? We don't know what this is.
And we've never done it before, and we're not going to take a chance on, I bet we could sell 10 mediums and 9 larges or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what the character's going to be. You're ordering shirt sizes, which means you're inevitably going to get stuck with extra of some random size and run out early of some other size. And then on top of that, these are not cheap boxes.
Yeah.
It's a Funko Pop and like a Pocket Pop and a T-shirt. Like, it's not cheap. It's not the sort of thing that we want to order like 5 or 6 of just to see what happens.
So, of course, right when it was announced, people were like, oh, can I get this size or this size?
No,
we didn't order it. Sorry.
But going back to the 3 Jokers thing. So, I mean, if you're a store that is like, I don't know if I can sell 50, and then you got 10 people who show up who are like, I want all 9 covers. Well, is it worth it to try and like shift your numbers around to try and make this happen, knowing that you have to get 40 more of 9 covers for the shelf? Like, if 10 people are ordering it, how many more people might want it if you had it? Could you maybe sell them online? Could you sell them as a bundle? It's all these ways of like trying to make the math work, and it all feels harmful. It feels like,
it feels crass.
not just crass, but it feels like, stores that are maybe not in great shape, that are trying to kind of get back on their feet, and then something like this happens, and it's like, do you want to gamble? Do you want to risk what little stability you've rebuilt in favor of, gambling again on a bunch of variant covers? Like, so many companies are doing things where it's like, we are trying to do more for retailers to get them back on their feet. Free books or returnability or all sorts of like rearranging schedules so that the appropriate amount of product is hitting shelves in this slow ramp up process, so it's stores don't get giant bills. And then you get DC Comics who's like, I don't know, why don't you just get 200 copies of a $7 book one week? Why not do that? And it's just I like everything else DC's doing, it's like, who besides DC does this help? Like, I don't understand it. It just feels so nakedly greedy, and I don't like it. It was a frustrating thing to read in an email, because it's, again, this is the sort of thing that 2 years ago DC wouldn't have been in a mile of. And now it's like, nope, this is just how they make books now.
They're also weirdly making announcements public that are for retailers only, like putting all of the distributor information for DC Direct in the back of DC Connect.
Yeah, right. Well, remember, they are unifying their communications across all channels. That includes consumers.
And they were teasing...
I guess they're going to start getting lunar codes.
Right, sure, why not?
Sure.
They were teasing a big Harley Quinn announcement today.
Uh-huh.
And they announced it, and it is a 14-chapter digital comic.
Yep, thanks.
Like, that is the lead story in a retailer email.
Yep.
Hey, here's the thing, you can't make money off or sell or whatever.
The final
it'll
line...
be in print at some point.
That's the final line in the announcement. It's all this other stuff, including like preview pages and stuff, and then the final line is, at some point this material will be in print. Tell me about it then!
Yeah.
I don't care about it now. I don't care about your digital series. Yeah, oh my god, that company. Literally every week. I don't understand who's running the show there. I don't understand... Like, if you seriously told me that everybody I knew at DC Comics had been locked had been locked in a basement for the last 120 days, and a group of like insurgents who want to destroy the direct market got in there and were running the company, I'd be like, that makes sense. Yes. Oh my God, I get it now.
It's like the doppelganger. The Diener Ganger from Community.
Oh, sure, yes.
When the Moby lookalike was put in to replace Dean Pelton.
Sure. Yeah, so difficult for me to understand that company anymore. So opposite of everything that I used to think they believed as a company.
I wonder if the staffers there, each time they get an edict, like, oh no.
I wonder,
or if they're like, yeah, that's a good idea.
I really do wonder, if this is just people who are like, look, I cannot be out of a job right now in the middle of a pandemic. You know?
Right.
I cannot, especially in the comics market, that God only knows if it's going to last another year, I cannot be like a person in the sales or marketing department looking for a job. There are no sales or marketing jobs in the comics market right now. Especially not, if you live in Burbank. So, I mean, if that's the case, I'll be honest, I don't love that. I don't love the idea of people who are like, I am going to continuously do things that are bad for the market that I work in because I've got to take care of myself. That's almost DC's philosophy as a company now. So having that trickle down to the individual level is like a lateral move at best. But I understand that philosophy. I understand the individual philosophy of, I hate doing this, but I need to do it because I would prefer not to be homeless. But as a company, it's like, is it that sort of pressure? Is it like AT&T saying, do this or we'll just fire everybody? I'll be saying this for the rest of the year. I would love to get the story behind all of this at some point in the future. I would love, 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 love for someone who worked at the company during this quarter to someday, at C2E2 2022, be like, okay, here's what really happened.
Yeah, right.
Here's why we had to do all that. Oh my God, nothing would make me happier. Because right now, it's just infuriating to watch. It's so frustrating.
I have that in all facets of life. I would love to hear Russell T Davies' thoughts on the 2 eras of Doctor Who after him.
Sure.
But I never will.
No.
I never will.
Probably not. You'd have to become really good friends with him, and that's the sort of thing that's the card you play at your, second Christmas with him.
Something.
And his family. Is being like, hey, by the way, we're sitting here in front of the fire. We've exchanged gifts.
Brandy flowing freely.
Yeah. Hey, while I got you here, what did you think of... And then you hope that he's in a good enough mood to give you his honest opinion. But that's a long game. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I'm saying it is a long game.
Just having Christmas at Russell Davies' house sounds pretty great.
But that, it would be difficult because I feel like the first thing you'd want to ask him would be that. And you have to save that. You have to get through so many more interactions with him to build up that level of comfort where he feels like he can be honest with you.
Sure. Life goals.
Yeah, it's, again, I think the journey would be great. But then, the destination would be something else.
As we talk about all this week's horrible DC things. There's a few Marvel things that I think are for the best of everybody.
Okay, like what?
For example, they've released the updated Empire checklist, and they've chopped off 20 books.
I don't even think I remembered what they removed.
All I know is from the books that are out this week, they had the full checklist.
Yeah.
And I went in and counted 50 some, 53 titles.
Still a lot.
Yeah, it's still less than War of the Realms.
For sure.
Now, the updated one is only 31 titles.
Which I guess that's good. There's still a lot of subpar stuff in there. There's a lot of the Empire colon miniseries.
Not going to disagree with you there.
That I just thought...
I'm just saying, they did drop off 20 books. And I sent you a list of all the titles that are just MIA since the return.
Which a lot of that stuff, I didn't respond to that because I figured we'd talk about it here, but a lot of that stuff makes sense. Basically all the Outlawed stuff, it's basically a separate event. And they don't really have the bandwidth to do 2 events right now with all the Empire stuff.
Yeah.
So Outlawed, I think, is a thing where that will just be later this year. That'll probably be an October, November, December thing.
And all the Black Widow stuff or all the Eternal stuff will be pushed back to...
The Black Widow thing makes the most sense because that's a book that was basically coming out a month before the movie.
Yeah, and that's Black Widow, that's Widowmakers,
Yeah.
that's...
So again, like October, November, yeah, sure.
that stuff will definitely come out.
The other stuff, I mean, there's definitely things in there where it's like, I don't know if they're going to finish doing Runaways in print or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, there's definitely stuff that was on the bubble that I think they're trying to figure out, like...
Ghost Rider.
I think some of it is just figuring out if they can get the industry back to a level where that material can get released and absorbed.
It's interesting that they don't have Conan on their schedule right now when I think they have to pay licensing fees.
Yeah, it's true. But, I mean, that stuff wasn't selling.
And Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange is a weird one.
Yeah.
That's definitely a weird character because I didn't think that book was doing poorly. But,
Right.
A lot of the other stuff, again, that they've shifted to digital or pushed off, it's like, yeah, I don't think anyone's clamoring for that. It's not lost money to not have, no offense to Dal, Power Pack come out. Like, that's an okay book to shift to later in the schedule. It's no big deal.
Along with New Warriors.
Yeah, and like, Outlawed was a thing where they released one shot. So it can be 6 months later. It doesn't matter. Better to save all of that stuff instead of trickling out a series here or there and having it not make sense.
The rumor is after they finish a lot of their planned miniseries now, they're going to focus on just doing more with their core characters.
Great.
Like more X-Men miniseries, more Avengers miniseries.
Great.
Children of the Atom, by the way, whenever it comes out, it is just a miniseries.
That's fine.
And the rumored writer for Moira McTaggart,
Mhm.
you'll be happy with this.
Okay.
You're looking forward to... Wait, no, he's not writing Iron Man. He already wrote Iron Man before. It's Tom Taylor.
Okay, that's great.
Rumored.
I'd be into that.
Yeah.
Tom Taylor did good X-Men books
Yep.
before. I'd be into his more.
Yeah, he's definitely coming back to the X universe. But the bad news for, I think, most comic fans, and Dal specifically, next year's big event, it is co-helmed by 2 writers.
Okay.
Man, I want to make you guess, but I can't think of any ways to not make it really obvious. Marvel's favorite writer right now?
Donny Cates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And a guy...
I'm trying to think of who's a big guy that they don't have, who isn't on Empire, basically. I assume it's not Al Ewing.
Correct.
And I assume it's not Dan Slott.
Correct.
Jason Aaron?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's... It, basically, like, when they had the Architects, or whatever they were called,
Yeah.
the Marvel Writer Brain Trust, they would do that thing where basically they would just shift around who's doing the event. Like, it would either be Bendis, or Brubaker, or Fraction, or Jason Aaron, or Mark Waid, and then they would just, like, team them all up when it was time to do a big event. Like, so, yeah, the idea...
But can you tell me what the subject is?
Thor?
Nope.
Venom?
Close.
Carnage?
It's the sequel to Absolute Carnage.
Okay, that's cool. I don't have to read that.
It's the coming of Null.
I didn't read a single Absolute Carnage book, so I'm absolutely not going to read this thing.
Next year's big crossover is all Venom related. It's all Null.
I'll say this, though, as a retailer, Absolute Carnage as a main book did pretty well for us.
Yeah, that's true.
Better than I thought. I mean, the miniseries did predictably bad.
Wait, you mean the offshoots?
Yeah, when I say miniseries, I mean
yeah.
like the tie-ins and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's always, like, there's a miniseries, which is, you know, let's say Absolute Carnage 2, Resolute Carnage. And then you're going to have, like, that'll be like
That's
6 chapters. But then you're also going to have, like, Resolute Carnage X-Men, Resolute Carnage Thor, and these are each going to be, like, 3 or 4 issue series. And then you're going to have one-shots, Resolute Carnage Captain Marvel, Resolute Carnage Immortal Hulk. And it's... So that's just... that's how it's done now at Marvel. That's what an event looks like. Like, when I was looking at the checklist for Empire, I mean, if you had removed the header that said Empire and slotted in War of the Realms, my brain would have just thought, yes, this is the War of the Realms checklist.
Yeah.
This is just what it looks like. It's 3 months.
That's how it is now.
Here's these things. They all say this thing, and it's a few issues of this book, but everything else is one-shots and tie-in miniseries. So yeah, those I expect to do terribly. In that, I think the most we'll probably do for an individual issue is probably going to be like 15 copies for an issue 1 before we hit week 3 and everybody else.
I have to warn you,
out.
as someone who did the advance order on those, they're...
I mean,
like,
for this Carnage thing next year.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
I don't mean Empire.
The Empire stuff, like,
No.
if I ordered 5 copies, it's a miracle.
Yeah, no, I think Empire is...
But we also seem to have people signing up for Empire now.
We do. This is the thing that I thought about today when I had multiple people either respond to the email and say that they They wanted Empire added because they saw Empire so let me, as a quick parenthetical, it's Empire 0 Avengers, not Empire Avengers number 0.
Right. Empire Avengers is a separate thing.
Yes, because Empire 0 has 2 different one-shots.
Yeah.
A Fantastic Four one, which is their side of the story that's coming out next, and an Avengers one, which is their side of the story that came out now. So there are going to be 2 Empire Zeros, one by Al Ewing, the Avengers one, and then one by Dan Slott, the FF one. And then those collectively are like the 0A and 0B that lead into number 1. But anyway, that's just typical Marvel nonsense.
Which is not to be confused with the Prelude.
Where you can have 4 number 1s that are actually a sequence of issues. But anyway, I was thinking about it because, we sent emails to subscribers 4 or 5 months ago at this point talking about Empire, and, not a lot of people signed up. And then there was all the poster on the door for 3 months. There was ads in the back of the books. There was all of this stuff. And that we still had people today, the Friday after the book comes out, who were like, oh, what's this Empire? So they had, and I thought of, and this isn't a Marvel thing, this is just a comics industry thing, that when DC's like, oh, we have to unify all of our communications, it's like, literally the only thing 90% of your fans are ever going to see is the book on the shelf when they walk into the store. Like, whatever promotion Marvel does for Empire, they could do 5 times as much and it would not even be close to enough. Like, so many people you will never, ever, ever reach. And these are hardcore customers. This isn't a guy who doesn't even read Marvel comics who wanders in off the street. These are subscribers who get Marvel and DC books, who are reading Marvel and DC books. And these ads and these promotions wash right over them.
Yeah.
They don't even see them. They might as well be blank pages. So, yeah, I mean, we're getting a bunch of people now who are like, add me for Empire. And they're doing it, well after we looked at most of our numbers for Empire because of how quickly this book is going to be coming out over the next 7 weeks. Gone are the days where they might do 2 issues in a month because now they've got to get it all done basically before...
Major story changes are happening in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah,
they got to catch up.
Before A, Ten of Swords can come out, and B, they can have the spin-offs to come out because they already planned the spin-offs of the event before the event even launched. So they, it's the Empire stuff. I don't expect us to order a lot. And yeah, the Carnage thing. We had a bunch of Carnage miniseries that we ended up having to put in the back issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, the main book will order a bunch. People do like Carnage. They like Venom. They like Donny Cates. They like Jason Aaron. They'll probably like some of the other characters that those writers put in the book. They might like the artist. I don't know who it is. I assume Ryan Stegman. But then, like the tie-in stuff, it's just not as much of interest. I think because there's so goddamn much of it, and it's hard to parse it out.
Speaking of so much of it and customers not knowing things, let's re-emphasize our Ten of Swords rule.
Oh, sure. Which is funny because we did have someone who was down for all the Ten of Swords stuff then indicate that they would like Ten of Swords, and it's like, we sent you an email that you're responding to that says in like the second paragraph, if you are down for X-Men, you are already down for all of Ten of Swords. The only way to not get all of Ten of Swords if you're down for X-Men is specifically to opt out. You have to tell us, I don't want the Ten of Swords tie-ins, and then you won't get them. Otherwise, you will. So basically telling us...
Well, you'll still get the books that you normally get. Like, if you get Excalibur, you'll still get the Excalibur tie-in.
Right.
We're just not going to pull you everything else.
Yeah, like, I guess it's... And that might necessitate another email to make it more clear. But basically what we're talking about is that Ten of Swords is... There's a few one-shots that are being created. Creation, and then there's one in month 2 and one in month 3, and then maybe like another tie-in that's in there somewhere. But 22 of the parts are just within the regular shipping X-Men comic books. X-Men, Excalibur, X-Factor, Cable, Wolverine, New Mutants, and so on. It is spearheaded by Jonathan Hickman, and it is part of a larger story he's telling. So we're making sure that basically if you get X-Men, you're going to want to read this story, and you're not going to want to only read 4 non-sequential chapters of that story. It's not going to make any sense. It would be like taking a novel and then randomly pulling out 4 chapters and going, here's the story. It's not the story. You're not even going to understand what you're reading. Not only is it not going to tell you the full story, the individual chapters you're reading won't make any sense because you won't know what happened before or after them. So what we're doing in this case, because it's a chapter-to-chapter crossover, not just, a spine book and then a bunch of things happening to the side, we are subscribing you to whatever chapters of Ten of Swords that you are not already down for by subscribing to those series. So, for example, if you don't normally subscribe to New Mutants and Excalibur, for the duration of Ten of Swords, for those chapters, we are subscribing you to those issues of New Mutants and Excalibur. So you're going to be getting those chapters just for those months. And then when that series is over, you will no longer be getting New Mutants and Excalibur.
That's right, Excalibur.
That's right, Excalibur. That's right, Jim Ross.
So if you don't want those crossover parts, please let us know.
Yes.
It is extremely rare for us to add things to your list without telling you.
Especially this amount of stuff.
Yeah, but this is a thing where we think you actually want it.
Yeah, and some of it is just the way these things come out. There's going to be multiple issues coming out each week. If you come in every 2 or 3 weeks and you suddenly say, "Oh, I'd like those Ten of Swords issues," chances are we'll be sold out of multiple parts, and it's going to be a month before reprints come in, if Marvel's even going to reprint them. They have not been reprinting a lot of material.
Not since we're back in business.
Yeah. So this may be a thing where if you decide later you want them, it's probably going to be too late. So we'd rather err on the side of you getting them and telling us you don't want them rather than the other way around and we can't help you.
Along those lines, and this wasn't in the email, and I understand, I think, why, but since it's been asked by some club members, Immortal Hulk Zero and Immortal She-Hulk.
Yeah, Immortal Hulk Zero probably not because it's mostly reprint
mainly
material.
Reprint, yeah.
Immortal She-Hulk, I gotta look again. If it's the Immortal Hulk issue coming out for the month, yeah, I probably would.
Okay.
That's usually what I'll do. Like, we had talked about Death Metal, and I think I changed my mind on it, because I'd originally said we were not going to pull the 3 one-shots that are coming out for September for Death Metal. Because I
believe it's Viking Metal, Folk Metal, and Thrash Metal.
Because I thought 3 was too much. Like, we were doing it for the month that the Death Metal skipping, and they're releasing the guidebook and the Legends of the Dark Knights. But
Are we doing it for the Tales of the Multiverses?
Well, that's the thing. The Tales, those are the 3 that are coming out.
Oh, okay.
It's Speed Metal, Multiverses End, and Trinity Crisis are the 3 that are coming out in September. And I just felt like 3 was too much to take the place of the one comic most people would normally get.
Yeah.
But we've had so many people say, I want to make sure I'm getting all of those chapters. And Scott Snyder is writing some of them. That it's just like, I'll probably send out another email to people who get Death Metal to say, you're getting these 3 unless you tell us you don't want them. I don't like changing gears like that, but most people don't read our emails, so it's a moot point. I could probably just do it unilaterally.
We're lucky in the extent that all the DC books for September are still in the Diamond system.
Correct.
So we can sign people up for them.
Yes.
Okay, and this is the month where Lunar is unveiling their initial order platform.
Okay.
So that'll be good. But upcoming, like if there's, let's say there's a Viking or Folk Metal for October, how do we sign people up to those?
So, pardon me.
You are pardoned
for
all of your crimes against this government.
Thank you. Wearing my throat out talking right now.
Because you're so excited.
That's it. So, it's a little tricky because I think one of the reasons why all this stuff was still in the DC catalog for September was because I think Diamond expects there to be some sort of way to link in the other material.
Okay.
And I think DC's maybe okay with the idea of that stuff being in Diamond's system if, in turn, people still have to order it from someplace else.
It's still very helpful to us if that's the case.
Like it's a compromise situation, so I would hope that at least there'll be catalog entries for the DC stuff in October in Diamond because it'll eventually be linked up. I think. I hope. But if that's not the case, I don't know what we'll do. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. Scrap paper returns. Cycle sheets, anybody?
Yeah, right? Thankfully, it's a month away. Thankfully, it's a month away.
Yeah. And we do know that people are hard at work on solutions.
Yeah.
Whether they work for us or not, we'll have to find out and play it by the old ear.
That's true.
Ear playing. That's what they call it.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember the majority of this dream. Mm-hmm. And this is a complete non sequitur, but it is comic related.
Okay.
In this dream, Robert Haynes from the Dragon in Guelph, Ontario.
Gulef.
Is that how you say it?
No.
Okay. Because I know Guelph isn't right either. Guelph, like a Gelfling. That's not it. In my dream, Robert was the drummer of a band called Winesock.
Huh.
So I'm putting it out there.
One word or two words?
Good question.
Oof.
It wasn't written down.
Oof.
Either way, Winesock is now owned by me.
Okay.
And
did you already grab winesock.com or was it already taken?
I grabbed winesock.com, wine-sock.com,
Winesockmedia.com.
Sockwine.com. I mean, all of it. Winesock.biz.
Winesock.gov.
All of it. All of it.
Winesock.edu.
Yes. Yeah. Robert was the drummer in a band called Winesock.
Huh.
And then I woke up thinking, what is a wine sock? Like, I think of like a wineskin, you know?
Uh-huh.
It's like a wineskin, but it's a sock.
Uh-huh.
Like, what if you just put like a Ziploc bag in a sock and carried that?
No.
It's your wine sock. Oh, it's a clean sock, Dale.
Oh, no.
Has a little nozzle on it.
Oof.
But it's comics related because he is a retailer.
That's true.
I can't decide if, since this is the last week of June, if we should do patrons now or patrons next time.
Up to you.
I'll do it now since we're right here looking at it.
Okie dokie.
And there are a couple. Well, you turned your head.
I did.
There are a couple of new people I want to make sure to highlight. So I'll start with them. Hey, this is for the people that don't mind paying tax on their patron pledges. This is the thank you, say my name tier is what it is, and literally a customer or a patron shout out is an actual category. You can put what are you doing?
Listening to you.
No, what are you doing? Where are you going on your phone?
Oh, somebody sent me photos of the store they work at that had, and I'm quoting, water starts shooting up from the drain in the middle of the bakery.
I see. So something really important related to the podcast. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Do you see me scrolling through my phone at all?
I do not.
I've gotten texts during this recording.
It's true.
I haven't looked at them.
You haven't.
How dare you? You know what? Leave the room. You don't need to deserve to be here when the
I do.
while the
Do you
patrons
want me to
are being
open
read.
the door and keep the door open when I leave?
No, because I can't see that. I'll call you back in when it's time to say your line.
Okay.
How dare you? Patron and all listeners, I'm giving you my full attention.
I'm giving you 10%.
Well, that's a part that's going to be taxed.
It is taxing. I'll agree with that.
And especially since this one is your longtime friend, Brent Held.
Oh, thanks,
And
Brent.
you were ignoring his name being brought up.
I was not.
You didn't know you weren't because
How was I ignoring it?
you were on your phone.
I was listening to you the whole time.
Thank you, Brent Held.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Tad Eggleston, who works at a store up around Gurnee and used to visit like once a month. And he was a T-shirt pledge. By the way, there are still 9 people that haven't given their T-shirt size.
What a surprise.
Yeah. And several of them are our friends. Thank you, Josh Crawley from Westfield Comics in Madison. Thank you, Heidi D., also from Madison. Thank you, Andrew Aaliyah from Detroit. Thank you, Nick Baldwin, Chris Revicant, Drew Triner, Ben Kaligowitz, Chris, Robert Burns, who did the old curbside today, right? Did a little drive-by?
He did. He got out of his car because he said it was raining, so originally he was going to request that his items be left on the table outside, but it was raining and they were paper.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I left them on the graphic novel call-out tables.
Oh, okay.
So he came in and grabbed them.
May I ask what kind of mask he was wearing?
I don't remember.
I was hoping it'd be some fun, like, graphic mask.
I mean, I don't think so, but I honestly don't remember.
That's fair. That's fair. Matt Armstrong, Ryan Alcock, Mike Lee, Mitchell Davies, who made fun of me for starting my star at the bottom left corner, but then didn't say how he does it.
If anything, I would say that you doing it that way is an homage to Australia, which is in the bottom left.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down under.
Someone posted a horrifying thread of things you find in Australia today, and it's just like
Australians, I know. Jesus.
Massive, like spiders the size of your head.
Sure.
Snakes the size of the London Bridge. I mean, snakes pulling hippopotamuses out of rivers. Like, just all the horrible insects and things.
Vegemite.
Bats. All these bats. Snakes fighting bats.
Minogues.
Ugh.
Multiple Minogues. I like Kylie Minogue. Never mind.
Of course, she's Australia's sweetheart.
She's a treasure.
International treasure. Thank you, Thomas Nagovin. Thank you, Jose Villagomez. Thank you, Keith, Margie, Logan, Malcolm, and Gimli Springham. Thank you, Michael Romanenko. Thank you, Artie White. It's getting harder to read. I don't know why my eyes are unfocusing.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, George Brower, my brother. Thank you, Morgan Kaiju Perry from Boom Studios. Robert Lane. Thank you, Jacob Sorelli. Christina McChrystal. I hope you heard that there was no H in that Christina, the way I pronounced it. Thank you, Brother Bear Mark Hammond. Marcuson Nasso, who he and Jason Muir have a new comic to announce from a new publisher. It looks real fun, but haven't announced it yet. Just shown teaser images. You Hawaiian tease. Thank you, Bridget Neville. Thank you, Ryan Hecht. Chris Burton. Arun Singh, also from Boom Studios. Diane Bush, who, as we mentioned before, lives in Florida, and we hope you're safe.
Please be safe, Mom.
And thank you, Sean Bowers. Thank you to all the people who are also Patreon patrons at different levels. There's 2 other levels where we don't say your name. And I wonder what kind of tax rate you get just for us saying your name right there. I fully expect people to start adjusting their pledges down because of this.
Oh, I wonder if that would be the case. I mean, the tax percentage can't be that high.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, depending on how many other things you sponsor.
But like, if you're spending $1 or $2, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like the
they can't tax you that much.
Yeah, the taxable rate has got to be like that said, I completely understand if someone's like, my budget for Patreon is $2 a month. I cannot spend $2.25 a month. That's totally fine.
Understood.
I get it.
Understood. Thank you, all patrons, and man, there's a major comics industry topic that we keep
running out of time for.
Not talking about, and this week is no different. Thanks for listening,
and keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.